I just like it because Tsarukyan has looked so good and Makhachev has looked so good, but I think they're the perfect style matchup. The matchmakers know what they're doing. When you look at, they try to find the matchup that makes the worst sense for the champion.
So I think Islam's gonna win, and the reason why I think that is because Islam slows down in his fights. What I'm saying is nothing new. Everybody knows that. But when they fought, Arman actually slowed down more than Islam.
January 19th, Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan is just a couple of weeks ahead, and pros have already shared their verdict on the epic clash. Daniel Cormier said that the first fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan was a tougher challenge for Islam at the time. Even though Islam won convincingly with scorecards of 30-27 and 29-28, people often expect him to dominate so much that any fight where he is challenged feels like a loss. Cormier pointed out that Islam has been on a crazy streak, finishing top fighters like Charles Oliveira, Volkanovski twice, and Dustin Poirier in his last 4 fights, showcasing his incredible dominance in the lightweight division.
So for me, I like the fight because it represented a tougher challenge for Islam at the time when they fought.
Yeah.
Granted, on 2 fight cards, Islam won 30-27. On 1, it was 29-28. I believe that Makhachev falls victim to expectation. He's been so dominant that if you are able to compete with him in any way, it seems as though you did better. Bro, he shut Dustin out and submitted him. And the story was Dustin Poirier. I mean, this guy, Islam, has finished Charles, finished Volk twice, and then just finished Dustin Poirier in his last 4 fights. That is a crazy number.
Cormier further said that Arman Tsarukyan has improved since their first fight and is confident he can beat Islam Makhachev with a full training camp. Cormier believes they are the 2 best lightweights in the world and that this rematch is crucial. While Islam has been dominant, Cormier thinks this is his biggest challenge yet. However, Arman still needs to prove he can defeat Islam, even though he didn't have a full camp the first time. Despite the circumstances, Arman was still beaten.
But when you think about Arman Tsarukyan, he has constantly improved, and he has said since the first time they fought, the moment he got another opportunity, he was going to beat Makhachev because they didn't have a training camp to do that. I think these are the 2 best lightweights in the world. I've watched these guys time and time again separate themselves. And when you separate yourselves, you have to find that equal. You just generally don't get it when 2 guys are kind of running parallel to each other. Makhachev has looked amazing, but I do believe this is the biggest and best fight for him, unless he was doing something different in another weight class. But when Arman Tsarukyan has to still down, go and beat a guy that beat him last time, right? I know he wasn't 100%. I know he didn't have a full camp, but he still got beat.
Brendan Schaub stated that Islam Makhachev is not his pound-for-pound number 1, citing the weaker strength of schedule of the top 5 fighters. He clarified that he's not hating on Islam, but believes there's still a lot for him to prove in the lightweight division. Schaub emphasized that Islam should focus on lightweight before considering a jump to welterweight, as he has plenty of work left to do at 155 pounds.
Now, when it comes to pound for pound in your division, I look at strength of schedule. I look at who have you beat, how have you beat them. Islam's strength of schedule, when we're talking about, if you look at the pound for pound list, the top 5, has by far the easiest strength of schedule. He's not my pound for pound number 1. I'll be very clear. Not my king. Not bend the knee, dude. Refute. Cut my head off. Cut my head off. Not hating on Islam. I know you guys are going to run with that. I'm not doing that. I'm not hating on him. There's nothing he can do about it. It's not his fault. He fights whoever's in front of him. But for his management, whoever's telling this, dude, let's jump to 70. Buddy, you have so much work to do at 55. You have a lot to do at 55 before we bend the knee.
Additionally, Schaub expressed that after watching Arman Tsarukyan's recent performances, he would favor Arman in a rematch. He believes Tsarukyan's growth and improvements make him a strong contender against Islam, even though Islam has been dominant.
And Arman's going to give you a motherfucking fight. And I would favor Arman after watching his last 3 or 4 performances. I would favor Arman.
Dominick Cruz expressed that he likes the matchup because both Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan have looked impressive, and he believes they are a perfect style match for each other. He praised the matchmakers for choosing this fight, saying they always aim to create the toughest challenge for the champion, looking for the matchup that presents the greatest difficulty for the title holder.
I just like it because Tsarukyan has looked so good and Makhachev has looked so good, but I think they're the perfect style matchup. The matchmakers know what they're doing. When you look at, they try to find the matchup that makes the worst sense for the champion.
Cruz further explained that Arman Tsarukyan presents the toughest style challenge for Islam Makhachev, as he can match him in grappling, wrestling, and takedowns. Cruz suggested that the fight might even turn into a stand-up battle, despite both fighters generally preferring grappling. He questioned whether this would cancel out their strengths, or if one fighter's superior wrestling and jiu-jitsu combination would prevail, ultimately calling the fight a win-win scenario either way.
It's the toughest style. He can match the grappling, he can match the wrestling, he can match the takedowns, and now you're forced, maybe you're going to see a stand-up fight out of two guys who don't like to stand up. Does it cancel out? Or do you see one of the greatest combination of wrestling and jiu-jitsu, sambo essentially, mixed together all in one, and you see that? Like, either way, it's a win-win.
Beneil Dariush shared his thoughts, stating that he believes Islam Makhachev will win the rematch. He acknowledged that Islam tends to slow down in his fights, a well-known fact, but noted that Arman Tsarukyan slowed down even more in their first encounter. Dariush pointed out that this gives Islam a significant advantage. He also mentioned that if Arman were to win, he would likely need to do so early in the fight, as Dariush doesn't see him winning a 5-round battle against Makhachev. While he recognizes Arman's potential, Dariush gives Makhachev a 60-40 edge in the fight.
So I think Islam's going to win, and the reason why I think that is because Islam slows down in his fights. What I'm saying is nothing new. Everybody knows that. But when they fought, Arman actually slowed down more than Islam. So I think that tells you that that's a big advantage. Because in my opinion, if Arman wins, he would have to win early against Makhachev. I don't see him winning a 5-round fight against Makhachev personally, but I could be wrong. But I do think Arman has the ability to win. If I had to put a number on it, I would say it's like 60-40, and I'm leaning towards Makhachev.
Jamahal Hill talked about the upcoming fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, mentioning that Tsarukyan has been looking strong and working hard, making it an interesting match that could go either way. Still, Hill believes Islam should be the favorite, stating that Makhachev is currently the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. Hill emphasized that Makhachev's great performances have left no doubt about his abilities, and he fully supports Islam being favored in the fight.
I've seen Islam. He's been out here the last couple of days. He looks big. He looks strong. He's been working. But Arman's been putting together. I believe it's an interesting fight. It can go either way, and I just can't wait to see it.
Islam's the favorite. Do you think he should be the favorite in the fight?
Yes, 100% he should be the favorite. He's a pound-for-pound best fighter in the world right now, and his performances have left not much room to doubt him. So yeah, he should be the favorite, but at the end of the day, it's a fight.
Drawcar Klose shared his thoughts on the upcoming fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, noting Makhachev's size and strength, which he believes give Islam the edge to win. However, Klose said he hopes Arman will pull off an upset, as he likes seeing new names challenge the top of the division. He added that it would be exciting to see fresh faces moving up the rankings and taking on established fighters. Even though he supports Tsarukyan, Klose admitted that it would be a tough challenge for Arman, given Islam's dominance and skill set.
Islam's a big guy. I think Islam was going to win it, you know what I mean? But I hope Arman wins, you know what I mean? I like to see change in the top, move those numbers around and, get some guys out. So hopefully Arman pulls it off, but I think it's going to be a tough task for him.
Terrence McKinney said that while he respects Arman Tsarukyan's striking skills, he believes Islam Makhachev will win due to his size advantage. McKinney feels Makhachev's height and strength will help him control most scrambles, and over 5 rounds, he believes Islam's physicality will be too much for Arman. He acknowledged that this could be Makhachev's toughest title defense, but still expects Islam to prove why he's still the champion.
I like what Arman brings as threat on the feet, but I think Islam will, just because of his height, will be able to win most of the scramble. I think he was a bigger person just in general. And I think 5 rounds dealing with a person with that much muscle, I think Islam shows why he's champ still. But this will probably be his toughest title fight.
Michael Chandler spoke about the first fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, saying it was a close and exciting battle in many people's eyes, though he admitted he hadn't watched it himself. Chandler praised Tsarukyan's impressive win over Charles Oliveira and his continued rise in the lightweight division. However, he was confident that Islam Makhachev would keep his title, pointing to Islam's dominance and recent performances. He highlighted Makhachev's improving skills, especially his striking and amazing grappling, which make him the best lightweight in the world.
I think if you look at history and their first fight together, obviously it was a barn burner. It was pretty close in a lot of people's eyes. I don't know if I've actually watched that fight. I've just heard from people that it was close. But you know, Arman obviously beat Oliveira last fight. Arman has been charging forward. I think right now I will be surprised if Arman pulls it off. I think Islam has continued to solidify himself as the best lightweight in the world by far with his performances. And I have no problem saying that. His hands are getting better. He just outstruck Poirier. He can outgrapple anybody.
Chandler also admired the deeper reason behind Makhachev's fighting spirit. He pointed out that Islam isn't just fighting for the championship and awards, but for something bigger representing his village, country, religion, and honoring the legacies of Khabib Nurmagomedov and his father. Chandler feels this adds a powerful emotional side to Islam's journey, making his story special.
And I think he truly is doing it for more than just the punches, kicks, knees, and elbows and being the UFC champ and the glitz and glam. He's got something deeper that he's fighting for. He's fighting for an entire village, an entire portion of the country, an entire religion, and an entire legacy for himself and also Khabib and Khabib's father. So it's something special. It's a beautiful story, and I think Islam's going to get his hand raised. And I think it's once again the perfect story that for me to avenge the loss against Oliveira and then fight a guy who's even more highly regarded than Charles Oliveira, and that's Islam Makhachev.
Charles Oliveira sees similarities between Makhachev and Tsarukyan's fighting styles. They have very similar games, and I think each has to come and look out for the same things, Oliveira said. You have to watch out for the striking because they do offer some striking, and they also have to be very mindful of the ground game. Oliveira believes Makhachev is slightly ahead of Tsarukyan in terms of strength and skill. It's very, very similar styles, and I think that they have to watch out for the same things from each other. I think Islam is a little step ahead of Arman. I think he's just a little bit stronger, but when push comes to shove, any of them could win. Brandon Gibson feels Islam Makhachev is the rightful favorite, noting his championship experience, especially in the fight with Charles Oliveira, where Islam showed strength despite challenges. Gibson believes Islam is growing as a champion and expects him to dominate in the rematch with Arman Tsarukyan, using his grappling once again. He doesn't think the fight will be as close as their first meeting.
I think Islam is rightfully the favorite. He's racking up that championship experience. In like the bout with Poirier showed his championship character, like being able to really dig down deep in those later rounds, despite the cut, despite being wobbled. I think Islam's really growing as a champion, and I think we won't see such a close rematch between those two. I think Islam shows domination and showcases his grappling once again.
Billy Quarantillo discussed the upcoming rematch between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, calling it an exciting fight. He pointed out that Arman took the first fight on short notice, which may have worked in Arman's favor by catching Islam off guard. Despite this, Quarantillo believes Islam is on a different level than Arman. With a full training camp this time, along with Khabib and other top coaches and fighters in his camp, Quarantillo is confident that Makhachev will be even better prepared. He predicts that Islam will win their highly anticipated rematch.
Man, that's going to be an exciting fight. I think, Arman took that last one on short notice, but I still think Islam's going to get it done. I just feel like he's on a different level than Arman, and I think, Arman taking that on short notice actually kind of helped him because I think it kind of threw Islam off a little bit. Now that he's going to have a full training camp with Khabib and with all those guys that are in his camp, I think Islam is, I think he's going to take that one.
Austin Bashi expressed that he is picking Arman Tsarukyan to win the rematch, remembering how Tsarukyan gave Islam Makhachev a tough time when they first fought, despite being just 22 years old. Bashi thinks that this time, Arman has the chance to win.
I got Arman actually in that one. The first time they fought, Arman, I believe, was like only 22 years old and gave him a real good run. But this time around, I think he could pull it out.
Curtis Blaydes shared his belief that Islam Makhachev will win the fight, pointing to Makhachev's toughness and experience against tougher opponents. Blaydes said Makhachev has already faced and beaten harder opponents, which gives him confidence in Islam's ability to win. He added that for Arman Tsarukyan to win, he would need to prove him wrong, but ultimately, Blaydes is picking Islam to win.
He's already shown he's got the fortitude. Not to say Arman has it, but I guess Islam, he's done it against harder guys. He's already shown me he can do it. So I guess Arman would have to prove me wrong. So yeah, I'll go with Islam.
Paul Craig expressed his belief that it's tough to dethrone the Dagestani fighters, highlighting their unique and effective fighting style. He said that based on their approach to the game, the fight is likely to go in one direction. Craig stated that, in his opinion, the champion will remain the champion, meaning Islam Makhachev's dominance will continue. He recognized the strength and skill of the Dagestani fighters, saying their consistency and style are difficult to beat. Craig's confidence in Makhachev's ability to keep the title shows his respect for the champion's skill and fighting style.
I don't think there's anybody going to dethrone these Dagestanis. I think they're just their style is beautiful, and I do believe that it's going to go one way, and there's going to be the champ's going to stay the champ.
Adrian Yanez shared his excitement for the upcoming fight, calling it a dream matchup due to the contrasting styles of both fighters. He emphasized that the first fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan was very close, especially considering that Arman took the fight on short notice. Yanez admitted he isn't sure what will happen in the rematch, highlighting the unpredictability of the matchup. Although he believes Makhachev's dominant run gives him the edge, Yanez wouldn't be surprised if Arman pulled off the win. He mentioned that the storyline behind the fight adds to its excitement, making it one of his most anticipated bouts.
Watch and not really break down just because I don't know what's exactly going to happen, but just because of the run that Islam's been on, I'm going to go Islam, but I wouldn't be surprised if Arman took the win. That one for me is more like to me that's a dream matchup, dream fight. Just two styles, you know, it was a very close fight the first time they fought, so especially on Arman's short notice, it was a short notice for Arman. So for me, I'm just like, man, I want to, like, just the storyline behind it is gonna be amazing. So I can't wait for that fight.
Alex Hernandez recognized Arman Tsarukyan as Islam Makhachev's toughest opponent, calling him an absolute monster. Still, Hernandez leaned toward Islam to keep his title, saying, Arman is a tough challenge, but Islam has the edge. He pointed out that if Arman doesn't win, it's hard to see who could beat Makhachev. Hernandez praised both fighters for their versatility, but emphasized that Islam keeps improving, especially in his striking. With a strong team behind him, Hernandez believes it's hard to picture Islam losing the fight.
You know, Arman's his most competitive fight. The dude's an absolute monster, so they're both so tough. I'm gonna lean towards the champ, Islam, but yeah, Arman's a beat, so these guys work cut out for him. If Arman doesn't do it, who I think would be among the most competitive, I don't really see who beats him, right? Yeah, like who else? Yeah, I think that's why it's such an exciting fight, because they're kind of similar in their versatility, but I think Islam's continue to improve all around and on his feet, and tactically they've got a real brilliant team.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to see him losing.
Youssef Zalal expressed his confidence in Islam Makhachev, saying that he is definitely picking Islam to win. However, he also acknowledged that Tsarukyan presents one of the toughest stylistic challenges for Makhachev. Zalal compared Makhachev's win over Oliveira to Tsarukyan's performance against the same opponent, pointing out that while both victories were impressive, styles matter in MMA. He noted that no matter how skilled a fighter is, certain styles can be very challenging. Despite recognizing the difficulty of the matchup, Zalal ultimately chose Islam, believing he would win.
I'm definitely gonna go with my boy Islam, but I have a thing. I think that's the toughest stylistically matchup for Islam. I do believe that. People saying, oh, he fought him on short notice, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, you should see what Arman is doing. And they're comparing like, oh, look at what Islam did to Oliveira and then Arman to Oliveira. I was like, in this game, styles make matchups. It doesn't matter how good you are, but some styles are just not your kryptonite. So I think it's going to be a really strong matchup, but I'm definitely going with my boy Islam.
Joaquin Buckley expressed uncertainty about the outcome of the rematch, saying he doesn't think anyone has a clear advantage. He mentioned that it will be interesting to see what changes Arman Tsarukyan has made for the second fight. Still, Buckley called Islam Makhachev a dominant champion and said he would pick Islam to win. However, he acknowledged the uncertainty of the fight, especially when facing someone as hungry and determined as Tsarukyan, who wants to become a world champion himself.
I don't think anybody got anybody number, to be honest with you. So, we'll see what Arman has changed up and what he would do different, in this fight, in the second one that's coming up. But, for me, I think Islam is just, just a dominant champion right now. So I would just, pick, Islam just because. But, you never know. Especially when you got somebody that's hungry and determined to become a world champion themselves.
Joshua Van shared his excitement for the upcoming fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, noting that both fighters are very talented. He highlighted how Islam is improving with every fight, showing his growth and development. Van also praised Arman's skills, particularly his strong performance against Oliveira in his last fight. Despite recognizing the strengths of both fighters, Van saw the matchup as a 50-50 fight, suggesting it's too close to call. His comment reflects the unpredictable nature of the fight and his excitement for a competitive and thrilling showdown.
Ooh, that's gonna be a great fight. Islam is getting better at each fight, and the guy that you just mentioned, he's very good too. His last fight against Oliveira, right? Yeah. That was a great fight too. So I think this is like a 50-50 fight.
So what are your thoughts on this? Who do you think will get his hands raised? Which fighter will you be supporting on the fight night? Share your thoughts in the comments section and make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video.